So now we live. Let's check. Hello, everyone. Let's check if we are good. If you can hear us live.
I can certainly hear you.
You
So
can hear me?
I can hear you. So for me, we're definitely live.
Okay, super. Hello, Nick. How are you today?
I'm great. It's I feel like you work in our office, to be honest, Angela. But I actually realize you've never been to our office. But it's great to be connecting with you for this live stream, and I think we're going to have a great conversation today. And I certainly see you very regularly, and we have many great conversations. But we rarely create, a full 30 minutes to have those conversations in person. So maybe doing it on a live stream is actually going to give us more time to jump into those kind of more meaningful topics.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's always great to see you, and especially in person. And we are gonna see you again in December. We will talk about that later. But it's always a nice conversation. And if we record, we can share with our ecosystem that is all about. So
Perfect.
I will introduce just a little bit what is this webinar, guys. I am Angela Bustillos, co-founder CMO of eXplorins. As we have since the beginning of autumn started our webinars, like library webinars, where we talk about different topics. And this one today is together with our partners, or is the partnership section, where we talk with our great their partners that we have built through the time. And one of them is the digital tourist think tank, the DTTT, where is Nick, our guest today. He's the CEO and founder. And before presenting the whole webinar, I just want to remind you that this one is about destination as innovation ecosystem, where collaboration drive visitor and experience and grow. So before starting with the whole agenda, I will love that you please, Nick, introduce yourself, because there is no better person to do it than the same person.
Exactly.
So we can put everybody in the same page.
Great. So first of all, Angela, thank you so much for inviting me to be on this new series. I think it's really cool. And I have to say, I'm still like, this purse branding is so bright that I think, it sticks. It definitely sticks. So if I see these colors, I know it's purse. And the other day I saw a brand using similar colors and I thought it was you. And I was disappointed
What
it
are you
wasn't.
doing? What are you doing?
Exactly. So I guess I'll give a bit of a longer intro than I usually do, because maybe a lot of your audience don't know who I am or what we are. So yeah, I founded the digital tourism think tank in 2012. What we have always been driven by is digital transformation. Today we dropped the word digital. People keep forcing us to bring it back because they want to talk about AI and how it's transforming everything. So that's digital transformation. But in essence, we work with destinations. There would be DMOs, those would be national, city, regional, and even municipal tourism organizations, which are responsible for promoting, branding, and managing the destination. So this can be everything from running campaigns and creating a competitive positioning through to product and experience, which I think we're going to talk about today. And the Digital Tourism Think Tank, or DTTT, as it's fondly known by people who know us well, is really about creating a platform for knowledge, for thought leadership, to share ideas, and to bring that community together. And of course, we also do some other things. So we have an advisory consulting service on the side and a few other things like that. But in essence, our core focus is helping everybody to stay up to date with the trends and to think critically about the implications of those.
Yes, and your role, Nick, we connect so much and so well, because in your position and your vision with DDT is having this strategic vision and how to help destinations and enterprise to drive and walk through the new, no, and through the what is called innovation, but the change that we are experiencing as a collective, as the territories, as the ecosystems in general. So I do love how you have this sharp understanding of how to reach the change and the disruption in that way. So that's why we connect so well, that we participate everything that you do, because it's so much knowledge and so much interesting topics and talks from there. So to start the webinar, I will give you the agenda, guys. We're gonna talk about destination strategic vision, then the ecosystem data and the fragmentation of that data, that how it's happening, what we have right now, and how that fragmentation is getting being a problem, but also then the solution, or how we can fix, or how we can understand and connect that data that is getting or having as a we are having as an output all over the place in the tourist industry. And then we're going to see some, like, two cases, the European cases. One is we heard on one of your the Newcastle activity in summer, the HDW. So we bring it here because we want that our audience have a look of what's going on in destinations or European destinations that are focused on these ecosystems grow. So first, would you have this word that are using a lot in the DTTT that is visionary? And it talks about preparing destination for disruption. In this case, Nick, what are the 2 or 3 key trends? Because I want that the people be inspired of what is going on and what is coming. So what are the 2 or 3, or whatever you want to say as a number, about the trends that every tourist leader must have in their radar or in their mind right now to survive, if that is a word?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I think leadership is really, really key, and we often overlook it. But you need to have a clear sense of vision. So when we talk about visionary, you need to understand what your North Star is. You need to know where you want to take that destination in the years to come. It takes a long time to build a brand. It takes a long time to build a really functioning pace and process as a team. And so you can't be reactionary and you can't be tactical. You have to be strategic and long term. And some of the things that are driving that come down to consumer interest and consumer behavior. So in balance of having your own vision about where you believe the destination has the opportunity to grow and develop and become stronger, more resilient, and also not for every destination, but for many destinations, to continue to bring in new business. Some of the destinations are trying to push it away because they have too many visitors. But also understanding how to then engage and connect with consumers in the market. And that's also shifting really rapidly. And I talked about AI at the beginning, but AI is such a good example of why you need to keep on top of those trends, because it's not just a tool. It's not just something that's developing fast. It's changing behaviors. And when we think about the change in behavior, it changes our habits. It changes how we turn to our phones to get information, with huge numbers now turning straight to ChatGPT to get a plan, to get an idea. And so that completely changes kind of how we need to think about being relevant. But I think, just kind of stepping back, the macro trends in tourism right now are thinking about sustainability and what this means to the tourism sector. Of course, you've got environmental sustainability. So reducing our carbon impact. I think it's safe to say that the majority of destinations are actively thinking about how they can encourage people to reflect on their choices, to consider train over plane, to consider public transport over taxis, and to also think about how they behave in the destination, so that they are buying more from local businesses that source locally, and also reducing their impact in this way. But there's also the social and economic sustainability as well, which are just as important, if not considered more important. So tourism is a sort of dirty word, and we try not to use it. We actually always talk about the visitor economy, because tourism conjures up this image of large crowds and someone walking around with an umbrella. And I was recently in Florence and I saw this everywhere. And I have to say, it was horrible. I actually just wanted to get out, even though there is this beautiful, magnificent architecture and history in Florence. It was very hard to really appreciate it because of the crowds of tourism. So the social aspect is key, because social is about making sure that residents benefit from tourism and they see the benefit of tourism. It's making sure that the numbers you bring in actually spend and contribute economically to the well-being and the prosperity of people in the destination. And then the economic sustainability, that's really about having a diversified model so that you can weather the storm. Things like COVID showed us that if you're very dependent on international markets, you can lose it overnight, even though we didn't think so. And then I think the other side is digitalization. So sustainability and digitalization, I think, really go hand in hand. We'll talk a bit, I guess, in a minute, but having a really good foundation is so important in order to be really competitive digitally. And it's not just about using technology for the sake of it. I would say it's about building infrastructure. And I would say this is not a trend, if I'm to be honest, but what it should be a trend is service design, digital service design, where you actually think about how technology can become the cogwheel or the machinery in creating incredible experiences. And this requires us to think with a user-centered design approach. We need to think about how we're creating value through technology and why we are excited about things like AI, because it's about what they might enable in terms of what we weren't able to do before. So digitalization and sustainability, I think those are key. And then wrapping that around with a clear sense of direction and leadership.
You answered already a couple of questions that I have it. Thank you, Nick. Because I really want to go straight to this. From our point of view and our already experience with destinations, there is a fundamental area of, as you say, should be a trend, the digital service design of what is the strategy of the destination, because even that in the case of European destination, they have similar or point of contact, like, oh, more sustainability here or there. And thank you very much for defining sustainability, because it's very key on this conversation. But even that they can be similar and they have under the same umbrella of the European region, still every piece of land have different culture, different habits, different needs, different scale. So from there, the design of the destination of that strategy for the destination for sure is going to change. We can have the common areas, but it will be adapted. So that design process that you are super expert on is fundamental in order to apply that technologies, because we see in our solution with Pairs, we see we build it because we want the technology to be a tech for good, to generate this transversal solution or transversal wins for the destination or any company. But at the same time, you need a strategy behind. You need to put the stakeholders on the place and inspire them to how to. So that's why in this webinar we're gonna have at the end some cases of reference on how they are doing and what we need to have in on mind. So going there to the ecosystem, what does it mean for a destination? Because for us it's very clear, no? But I really want to summarize or pointed a couple of concepts to be everybody on the same page. So a destination, when we say destination as a innovation ecosystem, what is an ecosystem then in a destination? What represents a ecosystem?
So it's funny you say this, because I recently had a client that didn't want us to use the word ecosystem because they felt it was a kind of an empty word. But I disagree, actually. I think it's a really important terminology, and it's really important to understand. So I think in the essence, the ecosystem is, everybody who has a role to play in tourism. So the destination has a leadership role, but an effective destination will bring together all of their partners, and that will be the industry, first of all. So you've got the attractions, the activity providers, the accommodation sector. You have even food and beverage, bars, maybe, microbreweries, people who are really creating something interesting. You've also got the traditional bigger players. So in the US, for example, you have very large brands that dominate, huge hotel groups, massive attractions. I mean, they often are the stakeholders. In Europe, they tend to be the smaller guys. So it tends to be the microbrewery that's really up and coming. And the DMO is more championing them and wanting them to succeed and do well. So it's funny, the cultural dynamics as well. But that's kind of your first layer. And then from that, you've also got the kind of second layer, which is your trade and industry who are selling the destination, who are also really key strategic partners. They might have a very strong voice or authority in a particular market. It might also be interest-based as well. So you might work on specific themes like hiking, and you might work with specialized, apps or companies that are really strong in that sector and have a really strong niche. And then I think the underlying parts beyond that are your partners that exist within the destination, not necessarily always in the destination. They might also support it, who are tech partners, startups, innovators, people thinking differently. And they can be really, really a powerful force for innovation. And they can really help create new and exciting developments in the destination, very much like you guys are doing. And I think this is a really interesting mix, because the DMO's role is to bring out the best of all of these different partners. Tourism industry businesses, they do what they do because they're passionate about that activity. And for them, for many of them at least, technology, strategy, all of this, it's a bit of a distraction from doing what they're passionate about, but they understand it's needed. For startups, they're passionate about maybe their technology, and they're excited about its capability and what it can do, but sometimes they don't necessarily have all of the knowledge about tourism, or they just maybe don't have the commercial or business understanding about what people need versus what they would like them to need. And I think, bringing all this together is really key. The destination has to be committed. I think that's more than anything, the destination has to have a strong sense of commitment to all of those different groups, and to bringing them together and to creating environments where they collaborate, and to reaching a point where they do more or less share a similar vision. I mean, you can't make everybody have the same idea about where the destination should go, but you do want to create a situation where there's a common agreement that these are the unique factors that make it different. A good example, for example, in Ireland, they've just run a campaign called Car Free, Carefree, and this is all about encouraging people to travel locally with public transport, but removing the idea that you're doing public transport because it's sustainable, but simply just showing that it's it's a convenient and really easy way to see a lot in the destination. And I think this is a great example because they brought in like the Gaelic language into this campaign in very subtle ways. So most Irish people can't speak Gaelic, and they know that, but they also know that it's an important part of heritage and the cultural identity. So they've also played this bigger role. And I think this is also where having that vision is really interesting, to not only encourage people to go out and explore and do that in a positive and sustainable way, but also to start to introduce different ideas which are cultural and heritage related, because it strengthens the fabric of the destination. It's, as you say, tech for good. This is tourism for good. And, I think we often look at tourism so much. We look at the KPIs around bed nights, visitor numbers, visitor spend. And even when we talk about sustainability, we still go back to visitor spend. Maybe bed nights, we say, well, we should have fewer visitors for more bed nights. And of course, this makes sense because you're saying we want visitors to stay and to spend and to stay longer. But there is also that cultural dimension, and that goes back to the social sustainability. How can tourism enable the destination to become a better place for the people living in it and to strengthen its identity?
And there's where you go to the gap of the measuring, no, of the data, and
Yeah.
it's normal because this also there is a foundation where we have built the whole industry into a certain KPIs, as you mentioned, like the spending nights, and then the rest was unattended. But with the time, there is so many technologies that are looking after that, and so many well, it can be startups or more bigger companies that are have developed solutions that look maybe no strive for tourism, because that's something sometimes happen, this, oh, this is good for tourists too, but I build it for, I don't know, something else. So but by coincidence or by structure, what I see is we have the definition of the design, and then from the design we connect, started with the ecosystem meaning. Thank you for doing, because is to put in to connect the common people that have common interests but not the same ones, and you actually need that contrast. I see when we sit down with a destination, we are not fatigued or full of public institutional or administration mindset, or super full tourist mindset, but we understand the needs, the areas where they need to play, including public
Yeah.
transport, heritage, culture, but we see from another angle. And I love that, because we are capable to be like non super neutral, because nobody's gonna be, it's anyways everything a business still, but from a vision of, I have this solution, I have this perspective, this is the way as eXplorins works, how we collaborate how we build projects in a collaborative way, because nobody, or like no one is gonna have the whole solution for everything. And second, because you need different perspective to actually build with creativity, and you need creativity to innovate. So it's like all connected, no? Like, and
Yeah.
then we can start doing things. But yes.
And you also need to make it accessible, right? So
Hmm.
we need to understand that our objectives, whether I'm a DMO or a startup or a business, are not the same as someone else's objectives. Yes, the destination's bigger objectives are clear, but that might not translate to the business. That actually, maybe it's a very low profit margin business, so
Hmm.
really difficult to succeed for so many businesses in tourism. And you need to focus every day on getting people through the door, getting people to spend money, and making sure you just keep churning that over and bringing that in. So I think sometimes the destination's strategic objectives, which are very important, they can be really mismatched with the business needs and that pressure that they feel every day. And I think what's interesting with what you're doing is it's about using technology to break down some of those barriers and just enable those relationships to tick, and also enable good things to happen through a rewards-based system. Because when you understand that if you want a consumer to change their behavior, you need to reward them. That is kind of a key principle, and it's something that we might struggle to accept, because you and I, Angela, would probably think, I will try to make a conscious choice. I will try to buy locally, but we're all guilty of not always doing that. I'm guilty of going to Starbucks, even though there's an independent coffee shop opposite, because sometimes there's just something that draws you to that. You like, that drink. And it's the same when we travel. We know we shouldn't fly, but in the end, price often dictates our choices, time, convenience. And so those can all be overcome, but they require us to see the benefits of those alternatives. They require us to say, okay, it costs more, but I think it's better. Okay, it's going to take longer, but I'm going to be happier by taking longer. And it's the same even in the smaller decisions, day to day in the destination. It's funny, we did a workshop on green nudging, and it's all about what you do. It's about, recognizing that the sort of 10-20% that live and breathe values, which is wonderful, they are not your target market
No.
because they're already converted. You don't need to do a thing, and they will go to the independent coffee shop. They will look for the sustainable, locally sourced restaurants where everything is, from local farms. They will do that even if you don't create that really sexy, powerful video about how the producers spend all of their time and all of their passion. And the content is wonderful, but if it's to convert the already converted, you're not having an impact. Whereas what you're doing and what you're creating is an opportunity for everybody else, which is the 80%. And those are the ones that are actually going to make the difference. They actually have more power than the people who are making a difference, ironically. And it's the same with the climate change. If you look today at what needs to change, it's the mass, it's the majority. People always say, well, I'm not going to do anything because China doesn't, the US doesn't, etc. If we take that as an excuse, nothing will ever change. But it's also
Absolutely.
true that if we find a way for China, India, the US to naturally change their behaviors, which they are doing, by the way, because I think China's producing more green energy than anybody else and is producing solar panels on a level like nobody else is. But if we can reach the majority of people and change their habits, that's where and it's not going to be by converting them, unfortunately. It's not going to be by educating them and suddenly they say, I want to behave differently. It's going to be by rewarding them. Price, giving them something which is extra special, and motivating them because of what they get for themselves. And, that's just how things go in this world. People do things for themselves. And even the people who make those very conscious, sustainable choices, they're doing it for themselves. It makes them feel good. It makes
Yes.
them feel like they're doing the right thing. So even those people are, are they doing it out of selflessness or selfishness? I think this is where Perth and creating the system of reward is really hitting the nail on the head. If anybody wants to make any difference, this is the only way to do it.
Thank you, Nick. Is absolutely our vision is the how it, and starting on seeing the problems on the industry when years on the industry, and that then you know that we were exploring another areas, and then since actually this spring that we launched proper finally the pairs solution, the SaaS, is when we are seeing the magnitude of the like the of nudging that, no, like you say you nail it, guys. And it was, thank you so much, because I know you have a high criteria. From our point of view, it's like how we can develop a tech for good in order to fix problem, but also to connect others. And that's something that I want to talk, because we were first from the data, like the ecosystem is generating a lot of data, but that data, especially for destination, is very fragmented. At the end, destination buy the data to the big ones, and that is great, but it's late. It's not real time
Yeah.
data, and we are in a moment of this war, this century, that we can have live data, and we can trigger and understand much better the actions and the behavior, in this case, of the visitor. And we can stimulate areas that are needed in real or life or in real time. So for us, Wimpers, what we built was a solution that helps that data stop being fragmented and is not only generated because it's pairs connect with a single system, is because it's a API first. And I think it's a trend that will add to the trends on the tourism, like API solutions, like any platform that is not doing API approach or open approach on that way. From my point of view, as a technical, is not going far.
No, but unless you're trying to build a brand and suck in that customer and own that customer relationship. But in a destination, you've got to distribute that. You've got to make sure that and the API is key, because it's about allowing that to connect with everything and everything to connect with that. So it's about creating that two-way flow of data. And you're exactly right. Data is gold. It's really is. It's currency. It has value. And I think it's not just for you guys, but anybody doing any kind of startup or business today in technology, even outside of technology, needs to be thinking, how can I create data which has value? Because this is what people want.
Yes.
The destinations really want data. And they've gone through a phase of building up some core data on arrivals, on all the kind of sentiment analysis and things like this. Most of that has been a sort of upgrade of their national statistics into a more digital format, to a certain extent more real time or more recent. So maybe instead of waiting a year and a half for the data, maybe data is now updated on a monthly basis. But they're still lacking that real ability to get into real-time data. And even things like telecoms or credit card data, they're having to buy in data sets and buy a period of months rather than have that currently active all the time. So I think this is really interesting, because the only way you're going to have relevant, commercially and locally relevant real-time data is by having those signals embedded in the industry itself and capturing data directly from your industry. Now, there's several ways you could do this. Before we met, I would have perhaps said, well, let's create some kind of system where businesses connect their systems to ours. So maybe, I would think, okay, everybody uses some kind of online accounting system. So what about if we could connect that? We could see all of the restaurants, their monthly turnover, and see, November seems to be 30% down on November last year. But in reality, I think that's where the human-centered design comes in. In reality, an idea like that might be good, but you're never going to have the businesses connect their systems. In fact, they're going to be across so many different systems as well. So you're going to have to build connections with too many things. And you're talking about a tech project that's on a scale that's going to just kill you. So I think, this idea of creating and connecting it to the product and the experience is actually adding another layer rather than trying to extract from existing kind of processes. You create something which adds value to the system. So I think that's really interesting.
I wanted to put this image for the ending of the conversation, but I think we are right to the point where, because I want to talk about something related, but we're right to a point of designing. That's the first step, to building ecosystem that will help that data is somehow or proper connected, stop being fragment and late. And then the destination will have so that's my conclusion, not my conclusion, but the slide I want to share, because I want to I am very visual, so I will love to make it like that. So we're here, no? We started, we talking about the ecosystem. Well, the design will be here. So the ecosystem, experience based. So it can be from the mice, activities, accommodation, like all around tourism. That is basically all that is happening in the cities, in the destinations. And then to put a layer of technologies that understand and help that data stop big fragment and have the utility out of that, is basically for us, from our point of view, is the combination of blockchain and AI, because one needs the other. Like Pairs is a blockchain based loyalty and reward system, but in that way we not only use AI inside, but we we're able to connect with another AI solutions or system. So from our point of view, very like a company vision, we don't say one is better than other, because one is more that each other they need each other all the time. I mean, this is very interesting. I'm very excited from like the moment where we are living these technologies, because when you combine that, you are capable to have a reliable and secure data, because the blockchain make the certification of that AI generation that is all over the place, and
Yeah.
sometimes
I
it's
think
schizophrenic.
in a world of AI, we need trust, right? We need trust and
Exactly.
transparency, which is really tricky to get these days. I mean,
Thank you
even a
so much.
video now, it can be really hard to have trust, even for us professionals that can detect, we struggle sometimes to see if it's AI or not.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, because you phrased it perfectly. We need trust and transparency, and that's one of the huge benefits of the blockchain. But also the AI, it helps to distribute, to standardize the data, making life life making life easier for algorithms. Like if I um if my conversation, my content goes through AI, and that but the content is full of the large language model, is full of a criteria, a content that is certified and standardized, it will enrich the solution, in this case for the destination, making all the stakeholders in the B2B participate, and make it easier for the B2C, or the final or the visitor to use it. This area I love, because we have this conversation with all destinations. The transactional data, what does it mean? That make it the data from information to being like a live actionable one. The region, in this case, if we talk about Europe, cities or states or countries can exchange data, but the data is secure, the data is private, and the data, you share only the thing that you want to share. So that will be depends of the partnership that you get from the other state, or another, or the other the government, the administration. So this is super super important, because at this point the countries cannot do that, not even inside of the same country. And that's
That's
crazy,
true.
because you to understand what is going on, how to apply, and how is actually that action or that politics having impact, you need also to understand the data from another point of view, and especially the experience point of view. And the last one is the co-creation, and we go again to the ecosystem, because the co-create data that comes from everywhere, but you have API connection, helps you to collective intelligence that is for us, and as much as we are understanding and seeing destination, is key. Like you cannot avoid this. You need a collective, your collective, or your stakeholders together, and at the same time leave them the possibility to create and co-create with you. That's
Yeah.
it. That's where the beauty came. I think so.
Yeah, I like the idea of also referring to this as co-creation, because when we talk about co-creation, we always, at least from the work we do, it's always ideas. And so it's always collaboratively working together to form some sort of collective vision or ideas. But the data, co-creating data is also interesting, because one business alone doesn't tell a story, but 50 businesses together and their data tells a really interesting story. And there's so many nuances that exist in that I would say destinations don't even touch the surface. What I see today, even from the best destinations, are survey-based insights from their industry. And the problem with the survey is you're asking an opinion, you're asking someone who's in a rush, who doesn't really want to waste time. And once they realize the survey is going to take them 15 minutes, they start to rush through and just click any answers.
Yeah.
And even if they answered it to the best of their knowledge, they would still be sharing what they feel, not the facts. And so they might say business is a really difficult business climate. Maybe their numbers show that they're actually having a growth or a squeeze on their profit margin, and that's where you're going to see the actual data and make a better informed decision based on data, not intuition.
Absolutely. And I wanted to show this because I want that we talk a little bit before closing and before the cases about the acceleration program that the DTTT have, because yesterday, and it was not pretended to be like no, we didn't organize because of this webinar, it just happened. We have a meeting with one of the companies inside of the DTT acceleration program with Larry. We exchange so much, like we can give you this, you can give us that, like how to grow. And for us, for eXplorins, especially for pairs as a product, as a solution, is the way that we love to work. I mean,
That's amazing.
that's just pure beauty. So I want please that we share a little bit what is the Accelerate DTTT,
Sure.
what we have inside.
Well, you, Angela, and eXplorins, so your co-founder, Daniel, have been really amazing supporters of this. I think it's important to say this. We created since the summer what we called a pilot or a beta. I can't remember what we called it, but we started to test the idea of what could an accelerator look like. There's accelerators all over the world. And, most of them are backed by enormous multinational public companies that, it might be Stripe, for example, that wants you to get on to Stripe. And obviously, if they succeed with that, the volume of transactions will be incredible. I don't know that they have an accelerator, by the way, just in case James Lemon from Stripe is watching this and thinking we don't have an accelerator. It might be Lufthansa. They have this innovation hub and it's great. And ultimately, they want to see solutions that could be embedded into that environment. So that's great. And then destinations also do activities. So, what we thought is, well, we've got this community that have always followed us and they see the value in what we do and we really love what they do. But we feel like we need to create a better program that really does exist and is concrete, so that we can have the right relationship with that. And so we've got our events where, at the moment, people focus a lot on the events for the value, which is great because the conversation you're having with Larry, you were both on calls, but it's probably only because you then met in person that this changes the dynamic of that relationship. So it's clear events have real value. And, not only the relationships in the Accelerate, but the opportunities created through the events as well. But I think we also see that over time, we've understood that we have expertise that are valuable, and we take them for granted, to be honest. And we also realize that the startups that are working in different areas of technology have so much more to bring, because if I have a conversation with you about blockchain, it will be so much more advanced than, say, myself talking about the opportunities of blockchain. I will introduce, explain, highlight trends or opportunities, and that would be where I stop. And with you, that's where the conversation begins, because the framing is the basic education. Getting into the detail is where it becomes really almost like technically scoping how you might then start to build a solution where, and why would you put blockchain at the heart of that. With another company, it'd be about XR. And, again, the opportunity can be explained and framed, and we can discuss that. But then how can you really get the most out of the technology and where it's at today? That's a whole different thing. So the Accelerate program, we are going to be launching it fully from January. We did officially launch it at World Travel Market in November, but we'll be publicly inviting more to come on board. And essentially, it's an ongoing program that renews on a 12-month basis, and it brings really innovative startups through application to join and be part of this. So they have to apply and they have to be approved. They have to meet certain criteria. And then we'll be creating monthly knowledge exchange sessions between them, but also creating our own editorial program just focused on their expertise. So I'm sure you'll be part of that, which will include podcasts, LinkedIn Lives, and editorial. And our goal is to give them a better platform to be real thought leaders in each domain that they work in, but also to educate the industry in these granular topics, which honestly we never even have the time to cover in the work that we do. And we've seen from our content performance, we've done some tests this year with really detailed content on AI, and we've seen that people lap that up. They really love it when you can take a topic and really break it down in detail. So we also understand that, you know, the Accelerate teams can support us with that. And then I think the other thing, which even you have suggested, there's two other things. So one thing is creating an ecosystem ourselves, where when a destination says, you know, we have this big idea, maybe they name the technology, or maybe they don't name a technology that they have in mind, but where we can then put that idea to this community and identify 2 or 3 potential partners that could help them build that idea. And that would be through an innovation process. And it's exactly the same as what I was saying about explaining. The same with innovation. We do a lot of design thinking, but we always take it to the point where that idea can then be developed further. And with the Accelerate community, it can actually be developed further and move into real prototyping rather than this very, very early stage prototyping where you put a concept forward. That's really exciting. And I think the other thing, which is more like, how can we give back? And this really clicked for us this week, actually, in the office, because, because we've been, how do I say? Well, we've been reviewing, we've been marking awards, and we received more than we've ever received before. And something just clicked for us when we looked at the startups, and we said, we can give them so much expertise. So when we do the awards, you know, if you've never been in this position, you think it's just what's the best. And for us, it's the conversations we have when we evaluate every single entry is never that simple. We end up with one entry debating it. I'm not joking, for maybe 1.5 to 2 hours. We'll have a really strong debate about what was great, but more than anything, because we need to, you know, if it's good, we need to see what's not good. So we talk about what's missing, what could have been done better, where there's gaps, things like this. And when we look at startups, we suddenly realize that they all are brilliant people. They have brilliant ideas, but they also have major gaps. And we realize that through the accelerator, we can also provide a really in-depth critical review of each startup at this early stage, and hopefully give them very, very specific advice on how to address those gaps. And sometimes it's about the product market fit. Sometimes it's about the user experience. This is often a really big point. Sometimes it's about the clarity of what they offer and how that's communicated to the industry. Sometimes it's about pricing. So with the Accelerate program, going back to what it involves, startups can apply, they can join. There is a small fee, but we've tried to design it to be really affordable, much, much, much more affordable than I think anything else. And there's heaps of visibility, heaps of community and knowledge building together, because, you know, we can't teach everything, and we learn a lot between each other. And really importantly, this critical strategic expertise that hopefully will help those businesses make that leap and address those really big gaps that maybe a lot of startups don't realize they have. And we will try to be nice. But more than anything, we want to be honest, and we want to make sure that the information we give should be able to get them to where they want to be, and help them to then start to grow, because we do want to deal with startups that genuinely have that drive and ambition to grow and you know, be successful and become internationally relevant and successful tech companies in tourism.
And you need to say the truth when it's like that. I am with you. I am with you. And all these years, I have received so many feedback in general, and of course, the good ones are amazing, but the painful one is the one when we have learned on the path, and still, because it's everything on construction always.
And I think what we realized is the feedback we've also seen how feedback can, when feedback is government funded, I'm going to be very honest with you. When it's funded by a government program, it tends to be the wrong feedback for a lot of the time. They'll talk about, oh, have you thought about your customer going to maybe a trade show? Or have you thought about, maybe investing in advertising? This is always the sort of business advice you get from mediocre government-funded programs. And I'm not saying that's the case for every program, but this is often what you get. And it's somebody who's retired, who's taken on an extra project with, a Chamber of Commerce has given them a budget. They said, look, your job is to speak to 10 startups and we'll pay you, X thousands of euros to do that. And that is usually not the right advice. The right advice is a really critical one. And it's really understanding those gaps. And it's really, you as a consultant, you have to be sure that the advice you give, if they follow it, they will definitely succeed. They will definitely make a major progress in their business. So telling you to start investing in advertising or consider getting a stand at World Travel Market or, things like that, that is bad advice.
And you learn from the fall, because you mentioned things and we are like, yes, we do this and this was good and then that one wasn't. But for a startup, and that's the big value for a startup, every decision counts.
Exactly.
Cost money, cost time, cost energy, cost focus for the team, cost opportunities, for good and for bad. But when it's bad, you really you are not happy at all. So to be part of an ecosystem where we share this, or to have the feedback from experts like you, is absolutely priceless on the level that push you. Yeah, and absolutely agree, and I approve. I approve. No, I
It's
am
got
proof of.
the eXplorins rubber stamp.
Yes,
I think the other thing is we love these startups. We genuinely think what they're doing is good, even if they're not perfect. And so we want to give them this advice, even though if that was a established company, they would probably pay 10K for the similar advice. We'd probably package it and make it a longer and more extended process. But we can also go straight to the point and get it directly. And the idea is not that the startups feel like they pay heavily for that. They should pay really something very minimal that gives them a massive impact. And that is something we want to create.
No, I'm completely sure that it will work, because it already works. It was for us. It was for many startups that are already inside, and is as I started, start already talking with another startup to share and connect and collaborate, and make these synergies that help us for the pain points, and don't, because this was the point, the common point. Like, we know that we need this. They were like, we need rewards or tokenization system that is pairs, tokenizing experience, and we need something on the AI layer that is a product ready. So we will describe that in another webinar. But we're like, we don't want to build this. It's not that we cannot, but as a company, you take your decision, like this is the roadmap. And they were like, we don't want it, we don't need it, because it's getting out of our focus. So it's absolutely amazing, and it's happening thanks to the interoperability and these API connections that we are building tech solutions, like the mindset. So love it, Nick. I don't know how to do in the case right now, because I really want to invite you to two things. First is to check out the DTTT website. You have everything there.
Thinkdigital.travel.
Yes, I will. Let me. Where is? I have it here. 1 second.
And I think if anyone's interested in learning more about this, you won't find it. So just reach out on the chat. And, everything's AI these days, but we're still humans behind the chat. So it's really nice to have conversations. I have to stress this. We are building a back-end chat just for members, because it costs money to give answers with AI, It's not cheap. So,
everything has a cost.
We're producing an intelligence-based chat to really dig deep into our content. But if you want to find out more about this, reach out, and one of the team, possibly even myself, will connect with you and be happy to tell you more.
Absolutely. And for the part of the events, if you are in Barcelona, if you have
There you
available
go.
for
The
this
big,
hour,
big bar at the top.
this yes, I have to say we went just last year. You did it in that moment you did in London. This the Future Destination Brand event together with the EDS Awards. We participate. We were there and was so important for us to understand where are the destination. For example, I really enjoy and understand more the focus of couple of destination that this year I was able to talk during the London event that you organize in person. So for me as a business, is so important, but also the beauty of knowing people from before and have started a conversation from another start.
It
Let's
makes it
say
easier, right?
yeah, absolutely. I was talking with Katarina from Vienna. It was just so nice. We really enjoyed what I did. So it's different. It's still you want to connect for business development, but at the same time it was very genuine because completely remember what she exposed on the last year Future Destination Brand. That was an amazing campaign for Vienna, the culture and heritage approach. So anyways, it's a really nice event and I recommend only because I love and because I see the value out of all your events. So guys, you feel free, and here we are. Of course, I need to
There, look, there you are.
I
That's
need
you
to,
winning an award.
exactly. I need to put ourselves a little bit of advertising that we win this. This year we didn't introduce any application because we are waiting for a very big and important launch in the next months for brands, including destinations. So we're like, okay, we are not gonna participate because we really want to have the next showcase bring something more
Let's be
big.
honest, you wanted to give other startups a chance in this category.
Exactly. Nah, they're friends now. It's fine. But yes, we are not. But I love the picture. Thank you very much. So to finish, I will yes because it was a promise that I made very at the beginning. Two cases, and I want to point very fast visit Finland and France. Why? Because even that is not like a super, it's like it's on construction, they have nailed something very interesting. That is we talk about the data, the design, the data, the ecosystem. So and how AI and blockchain are merging or are getting together. No, so for visit Finland, you can go to visit no data hub dot visitfinland.com. Basically what they're doing, you can see it, yeah. Basically what they're doing is the focus on a centralized database, so put it all together, all the businesses from one database. API interfaces like open data access we mentioned before, and free access for stakeholders. That is sorry, here is the whole B2B, and the data utilization, how I can use that data. So for them, the strategic goal and impact is that interoperability and standardization. Guys, this is blockchain based. I mean, sorry, but this is blockchain based, and then you go with the AI and the other way around. But the interoperability and standardization is so key in tourist industry. And if you don't know that and you're working interest, you really need to go and read more about this. I for sure Nick will have articles talking about that
This is
already on
brilliant. They really have so much data. It's really impressive, and it's quite discreet as well. So it's not that well known about compared to say some of the other destinations that have gone in a similar direction.
Absolutely. And then of course, the efficiency of and visibility, because you are putting all together, and from there you are showing to the visitor what is going on, what you can do, and so on. So the distribution make it easier, is available, and give visibility to all the ecosystem. That's what they want, and then you go there to sustainable economy and so on. Collaboration and scalability, and open sustainability ecosystem promotes data-driven approach aligned with the EU tourism data space. This is so important. We have seen inside of our first product, you can see on the other webinars, we have something that is called Signer, and I know we are going to do a webinar with Daniel later, I think December, about the Signer. That is basically digital identity confirmations through biometric standards.
This is great.
So,
This is
and
exciting.
this is so exciting and it's so important because for the European Union countries in December 2026, everybody have to use this. That's going to be a challenge because we know that is a lot of a challenge in terms of implementing something like for mandatory for everyone and for less than a year.
It will probably be delayed, given
Absolutely.
the entry-exit system.
We know that. So, but then when the digital signer, a digital identity, and in our case the per signer, we can align to the in this case the region, the European tourist data space, data space. So looking how as a startup we are looking to the future in terms of how is going the macro like the what the opportunities that are happening outside, and how that will be good or bad for us. That's super important. And the friends, so friends is doing the AI driven travel planner. I know you have this information because you already have a super guest on the XDW event this year in Newcastle. Basically, the AI tool called Marianne is a travel planner, and how it was and how this was allowed them to create personalized experience for visitor in France. If that was the one, the girl, the woman invited for the conference, that this from where I have this information because Danny saw it. She showcased how working with tech startups to build and implement AI tools lead a great results and collaborate which list plugin data. This is lovely because I think right now France is very key on, no, I cannot say in tourism, but yes, in new technologies and how that make it that regional, how to make it local. They avoid the dependency that is super important in terms of technology. I will avoid until you can to keep it on your ownership, or to keep that ownership. And France is doing a great advance on that. In this case, this Marie tool strengthen the tourist data ecosystem, enable a multi-stakeholder innovation ecosystem. Again, we're talking about multi-stakeholders, advanced personalization and at a national scale, and allows to apply politics in that way, promote sustainable and equivalent tourists through AI, and create a seamless tourist commerce layer. This is very cool. And for the user experience, if you go to the link, wait, I cut the link, I will check. A ver. Here is
And
the link. It's very easy to use, so that's important. Again, the user experience, frictionless, easy. Yeah, sorry, go.
yeah, and no, just to say these are two great examples, and they're both available on our platform as well. So
Yes,
if you
I know that is a little intro to go to the whole
exactly,
article.
we have them speaking about it and sharing some insights. So this is kind of, exactly the sort of insights you gather. But as you say, it's also so much about just hearing it directly from those people as well. So that's
Absolutely.
really the key thing.
Yes, absolutely. It's good to show the case because this is happening with destination a lot. Oh, but who is doing that? And how is it look like? And it's cool, but for the ones, especially for the ones that are calling themselves, we want to innovate. We have cases you have on your platform, we have from our clients, but don't expect that everybody's using, because that's the innovation. That's it. Like you need a process, and you need time to go to actually grow in terms of cases and results. But is for sure the where it's going, the tourism, and we are very excited to be part of that, because it's gonna be very fun. And yeah, from the tech perspective, we all the time innovating with pairs. You will see all these episodes of the webinars about pairs itself, like specific about the product, on our YouTube channel. But the important here, or the key of this conversation with Nick, was like the strategy approach and the vision through our destination, from our knowledge and from what is going on or what we are doing. And it will be a pleasure if you join us on the next event in December, because we're going to be there, of course. Is very meaningful. Like yeah, you leave that place knowing a lot. If your client is a destination, or if your target is at the inside of your target is the destination, you have to attend to that. So
Absolutely.
this is the little advertising that we again I do from my heart, because it's true. Thank you so much, Nick. I think we are super ready. Thank you very much for your time. You're amazing. Looking forward to see you here very soon, and to keep building together.
Thanks so much, Angela. It's been a real pleasure, and a great conversation. Who would have thought that 1 hour could pass so quickly?
Yes, it was very quickly. Well, guys, bye.
Bye bye.